Battlefield 1 competitive is finally here. Incursions. Now, you will have heard me talking about this game mode quite a lot over the past few months, but as of a couple of days ago it's actually in early alpha now, and if you're one of the lucky ones you would have received a key and you can head to Origin right now and download it. That part is important because Incursions is not currently tied to the vanilla game or the CTE. It's a separate client, and for a good reason. The guys at DICE working on Incursions want to be able to push updates as often as they see fit without having to worry about the update schedule of the base game and the CTE. Expect lots of updates over the next few months. This isn't the sort of thing that will be finished anytime soon either. Incursions is an ongoing project and it will be testing for a long time before it gets an official release. I expect much of what we'll play now will be tweaked, changed and improved upon vastly, and I think it's fantastic to see DICE going to these lengths to support a competitive environment for Battlefield. Right now in the alpha there's a makeshift browser-based system to get into a game, but it's just a placeholder while the real matchmaking system is being worked on. Hopefully the matchmaking system will be in the game very soon. Now, in this build of the game you'll also get to experience the drafting system where 10 players are connected to the lobby. The next stage is the draft. Here you'll be able to select one of the 8 kits on offer. Any one team can only have 1 squad leader and 1 vehicle operator, but then 3 to 5 soldiers. That means that if a team didn't want a vehicle operator or a squad leader, they could just pick from the other kits if they wanted to. But if you do want a vehicle operator, you need to remember that if your vehicle gets destroyed, say you were in a light tank for example, when you respawn waiting for another tank, you can't change kits and you'll be stuck with a vehicle operator kit and you'll have to make do. That goes for all kit selections as well. You can't change kits mid-game, which makes the kit selection and drafting phase very important indeed. What's more important though is team balance. Not having a vehicle operator or a squad leader for instance may be a valid tactic for some teams, but it could also be a massive disadvantage. Not having enough anti-tank capability when you've got a really good enemy tanker could also prove a turning point in a game. There are lots of options and team setups to consider here. And this is where Incursions can shine, because there will be a lot of combinations of kits that teams will use to mix things up. Some teams will have more assaults or more medics or perhaps no vehicle operator at all. Maybe some teams will even change it up depending on the map. It does bring a different element to the game of Battlefield, so I'm excited to see what teams come up with. Importantly, right now you've got 90 seconds to confirm your kit, and if you don't confirm, the game will cancel. So if you get a key, remember when you're playing, confirm your kit. That's really important. So I would have got this video up a couple of days ago, but I was away on a trip and I've played a few rounds of Incursions now that I'm back for a few hours, and I think that I can get a good impression of what it's like now. And I have to say, as someone who enjoys competitive gaming, it's really good. I genuinely think that it's got a lot of potential for esports, and DICE are doing a fantastic job here creating a base that they can tweak and add to as the months go on. Is it going to appeal to the majority of Battlefield players? No, I don't think it is. I think it's always going to be a niche section of the game. But for those Battlefield players that enjoy the competitive aspect of it and want that option in a modern Battlefield game, it definitely scratches that itch for that group. Some people may say that it's a bit little too late for BF1 in the competitive environment, but I would look at Incursions as DICE trying to figure out what a competitive Battlefield game looks like in the modern day, in 2017, in 2018, and once they've nailed that formula down and once they've got the game mode and all the points locked in and the matchmaking system in place, they can then retrofit that game mode to another Battlefield game. So for example, we know that the next Battlefield game is coming out in 2018, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they take what they're doing with BF1 and apply it to the new game as well when it's ready to launch. So that means the next game will probably have competitive support from the get-go. So maybe that means that we're going to see a lot of big money tournaments behind it to bring back some of those competitive players that may have moved on to other games. if you got an alpha key and you're going to dive into Incursions and give it a go, I would say that the first thing to do is forget most of the stuff that you know already about the base Battlefield game. Kits in Incursions are massively different. I played a lot as the raid leader who can place spawn beacons, but he's also got the Hellregal and a medical pouch, a bit different from the base game of course, kind of mixing up classes there. Now it could be easy to think as well that having a vehicle in a 5v5 competitive game could be really overpowered, but honestly I don't think they are. A good team can take down a tank with good teamwork, or the armoured car if that's what the other team chooses. As a vehicle operator, your base light tank isn't actually that great against infantry, so you need to level it up to get it somewhere where it can do some real damage. Even then, a few well placed anti-tank grenades and or someone on a stationary weapon could really hamper a tank. And also every kit in the game, as far as I'm aware, has access to a light anti-tank grenade if they want it. And unlike in the base game, the operators of the vehicles can't repair them from the inside. You have to physically get out of the tank and use your wrench to repair it yourself, making you very vulnerable indeed. And this repair system is how it used to be in previous Battlefield games. Now, one of the biggest problems that I came across here, and one that all competitive games out there face, is how to deal with people joining a game, they start to lose and then they leave. Players who decide halfway through that they simply don't want to play anymore, and off they go. In a normal game of Battlefield, that really doesn't make much difference because there's just so many players. But in a small competitive game mode like this, one player missing can make a massive difference. And in the games that I played earlier today, numerous people just kept leaving, down to 3 players, even 2 at certain points, either on my team or the enemy team. You may think, well, it's only just launched into alpha, of course this sort of thing is going to happen, and yes, that's 100% correct. However, down the line, when there's a fully fledged matchmaking system, and we're say 6 months down the road, there definitely needs to be a punishment system in place so people can't just leave and join another game. CSGO, for instance, has a scaling system, and it starts at around 30 minutes if you leave a game and progresses all the way up to 7 days if you do it repeatedly. Now thankfully DICE have said that they're going to deal with this initially by having it like this, so if you leave a match you can't join a new match until that match has ended. And I think that's a good start because it encourages people to stay in the game, because if they leave a match they won't be able to play one until it's ended, and them leaving will probably prolong the length of the game anyway. So really they're just shooting themselves in the foot if they want to play another game. Now moving on to the map that we've got here, I actually really like the way that Giant Shadow plays, and it really is nothing like the vanilla map, trust me, because it's one of my least favourite maps in the game. But in Incursions it's called Giant Shadow Redux, and for a reason. Unlike say Rush or Conquest in the vanilla game, which tend to use the same parts of the map, with Incursions the maps are heavily changed to fit the requirements of the game mode, and this makes a big difference. When you've got a team within DICE that are making weapon, balance and map changes specifically to make Incursions better, you know that they're onto the right track here. And next up is matchmaking. When it's added, hopefully it will be skill-based matchmaking and then private servers or custom games where teams will be able to compete against each other, because in all honesty I think that's going to make or break this game mode. If teams or organisations pick up this game and tournament organisers down the line, it could be a huge success, especially if EA pour a load of money into it, considering how popular some competitive games are at the moment on Twitch and YouTube. I think DICE themselves though need to hold their own tournaments when it finally releases out of testing, and that could put a huge buzz around it. And I've already noticed that when you load up BF1 it gives you a message showing Incursions on the front page, and that's great. It's giving it a lot of visibility there. The more people that know about it, the better. One of the things that really stands out about Incursions to me is the team play. Of course vanilla Battlefield needs team play, but in Incursions it's so important that you work together. Kits that have healing pouches don't have revive syringes. Kits that have assault based weapons don't have anti-tank capabilities. It requires everyone banding together to heal, communicate, revive, provide spawns and drive vehicles. There are some passive abilities that I really don't agree with here though, but hopefully these kind of things will get changed. For example, auto spotting on the soldier class, or this one from the control leader kit, where if you get to rank 2 of your passive ability, which is quite easy, enemies within a small radius around you will be revealed on the minimap. Now stuff like that in a competitive game, it just really doesn't belong there in my opinion, because you're allowing a passive ability to give so much information to the team, and in turn a perk like that punishes players who haven't really done anything wrong. Say that I'm playing as a control leader and I happen to run up to a wall and there's a player behind it who hasn't made any noise, he hasn't been spotted, perhaps he's an enemy control leader waiting for people to spawn on him, then his position will be revealed even though he technically hasn't made any mistakes himself. So I definitely think that there are some noob-friendly passive abilities in there that need to be looked at. Also, some of the new kits that they revealed recently are very explosives heavy. It remains to be seen if there'll be a problem in Incursions, but I don't think allowing classes to put multiple tripwires down and fire multiple grenades from a crossbow launcher is necessarily a good thing in a small-scale competitive game. But overall, from what I've played, I think Incursions is a really great start for a modern Battlefield esports game, and it really leads the way for what could be possible with the next game. As I said earlier, I think this is a template and they're testing this early so they can get it into the next game for when it launches. It may be the same game mode, but it might be different weapons, different perks, different maps, different time period, whatever. But if they establish what competitive Battlefield is nowadays, then I think that's an excellent thing. Incursions will make great progress in the next 6 months, no doubt, and after speaking with the developers at Gamescom and at DICE, I know that these guys are really passionate and dedicated about this project, and I'm excited to give it a go with a full team and see how it all works out. So that's all for today, guys. If you've played Incursions yourself, or if you've been watching the footage and following along, do you think this is a good extension of the Battlefield series, or does it not need this competitive angle? Let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.